Ari Lewis Show.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Ari Lewis Show here on Israel Sports News Radio. Thank you for joining us. At any time, you can email the program, arilewishow@hotmail.com, or you can email the station, Israel Sports News Radio @gmail.com. Of course, this Saturday night, June 11th, is the holiday known as Shavout. Receiving the Torah is what is commemorated and celebrated. On the line right now to discuss this holiday and the activities going on in Jerusalem and Tel Aviv is the head of IsraelK.org. Back to the program, Benjy Singer. Benjy, how are you doing out there?
Hi, Ari. How you doing? Good to speak to you again.
Yes, indeed. So let's get started. First of all, tell my audience a bit about Shavuot and what it's all about.
Right. So like any other biblical festival, there are two aspects to Shavuot. There's the agricultural aspect and there's the historical aspect. Now, agriculturally, Shavuot is known as Chag HaAsif. The festival went out when the farmers, they used to collect they gather in their crops, their harvests. And it's also known as Chag HaBikurim, when the first fruits were brought to the temple, to Jerusalem, and they were given to the Kohanim, to the priests, as a sign of appreciation, as a sign of connectedness to the Bet Mikdash, and to thank Hashem for giving them the produce. Also, nowadays, it's the more important reason, the historical aspect to Shavuot, as you said, is when we commemorate and remember the giving of the Torah at Har Sinai. In our prayers, we talk about Zman Matan Toratenu, how Shavuot is the festival where we celebrate, we commemorate, we remember the giving of the Torah. So nowadays, we're no longer living in temple times, and our economy isn't so agriculturally based. Really, it's the historical aspect, the aspect of remembering the giving of the Torah. That's the main thing we remember and we celebrate on Shavuot.
All right, and this time right now, it's going to end when Shavuot comes, but right now is Sfirat HaOmer. So what is the purpose of that?
Right, it's a well-known question. Shavuot, we count these 7 weeks between Pesach and Shavuot. Now, the Sefer Chinuch, the famous commentator, says, why do we count these 7 weeks between Pesach to Shavuot? It's like we're counting down to the big day in anticipation, in excitement. We're preparing ourselves for the giving of the Torah. We left Egypt, that was the first covenant known as the Brit HaGoral, the covenant of fate. And now we're coming towards the receiving of the Torah over Shavuot. The other covenant that's central in Judaism known as the Brit HaYud, where we receive the destiny, the more positive aspect of the Britot. And we're preparing for the giving of the Torah. And it's like people count down to your birthday, you count down to your wedding. It's a sign of excitement. It's a sign of preparation. The Erlo Rebbe gave a share this week in the ELC, and I wrote a summary on my IsraelK.org website. He really sees Sfirat HaOmer as a time period of preparation. When we get ready, we do teshuvah, and we prepare ourselves, we get ourselves in the right state of mind to receive the Torah, to remember how Moshe Rabbeinu received the Torah at Har Sinai. And that's really what we're doing. We're counting down. Shavuot means weeks. We're counting down Pesach to Shavuot, and we're getting ready to receive the Torah.
Again, this is the Ari Lewis Show here on Israel Sports News Radio. My guest is Benjy Singer from IsraelK.org. You know, Benjy, on different holidays throughout the year, we read certain books and certain stories. This holiday, Shavuot, we're going to read the story of Ruth. Why do we do that?
Right, that's a well-known question. There are various technical answers, but I prefer the more thematic answer. There's a famous rabbi called Rabbi Aaron Soloveitchik. His older brother was called Rabbi Yoshe Ber Soloveitchik. Rabbi Aaron Soloveitchik says there are two pillars to Judaism. There's the heart and the mind. There's the intellect and there's the emotion. At Har Sinai, one aspect of Shavuot is, as we've already been talking about, you mentioned and I've already mentioned, we're celebrating, we're commemorating the giving of the Torah, and that's kind of serving God through the mind, through the intellect. But there's a second equally important aspect to Judaism. There's a second equally important pillar to Judaism that Rabbi Aaron Soloveitchik talks about, and that is serving God through the heart. And if you look through Megillat Ruth, look at the themes in Megillat Ruth. You know, if you, in English and Hebrew, whatever language you feel more comfortable in on Shavuot, there's plenty of time. The themes of Megillat Ruth, it's a very human story. There's death, there's mourning, there's poverty, there's loneliness. They're the challenges of the outsider Ruth trying to be included. And this story really is a call for chesed, it's a call for help, it's a call for kindness. It's a very human book. It's the most human Megillah out of all five, you could say. And therefore, why do we read Megillat Ruth on Shavuot? To remind us that in Judaism we have to try to synthesize and we have to try to mix both the intellect, the law represented by Mount Sinai and the giving of the Torah, but also the emotion, sensitivity, and the heart and chesed. And that is what really a Megillat Rut reminds us of. So there's the phrase Torah Chesed. On Shavuot, we're celebrating Torah Chesed, the Torah of Har Sinai and the Chesed of Megillat Rut.
All right, and there's going to be a lot of programs going on in Yerushalayim and Tel Aviv on Shavout. Rabbi Pear will have All Learning at his house. I'm going to go there. Emic Learning Center, parties, etc. Tell us about some of the programs going on all night of Shavout.
Right now, actually, I've just, yesterday, I finalized on israelk.org the listing for what's happening in Tel Aviv. So if you go to israelk.org, you'll see one of the featured posts is a whole listing of everything going on, whatever you're looking for in Tel Aviv. And just now, this afternoon, I'm going to be finishing off a listing of what's happening in Jerusalem. So just briefly, in Tel Aviv, Rabbi Constantine runs a great program at the Tel Aviv International Synagogue. They've got a little Shavuot program. They've got a cheesecake afternoon. Also, Yakar in Tel Aviv, run by Rav Hananel Rosen. He has a great program going on there in Tel Aviv. And again, you'll find out everything going on in Tel Aviv on israelk.org. And also in Jerusalem, we've got so many programs going on, really whatever you're looking for. Just again, you'll see on the listing for the English program, as I know most of your listeners are looking for an English program. Pardes have a good program. Eretz Chemda, Shir Chadash have a really good program, like usual. Rabbi Pears. The Amic Learning Center have a good program. Now, if you're looking for something in Hebrew, Ramban Shul, the Rehov Amatzia, Rav Benny Lau Shul, they got a good program. They got 10 speakers speaking for half an hour slots about the Aseret HaDivrot, the Ten Commandments. That sounds really interesting. And now for children, I've also done a listing of what's going on for children for Tikkun El Shavuot. Now, the Ramban Shul again, Ramban have got a program earlier on the Saturday night. Also, I'm going to be listing other programs going on. Not to forget, of course, on Shavuot afternoon, that's on Sunday afternoon, Nefesh B'Nefesh have a fun event, and that's also on the listing that you'll find on israelk.org. And there really are plenty of things going on at Ohel Nechama in Rehov Chopin. They've got a shir by Rabbi Adler slightly earlier on Shavuot evening, because there are many people, they can't stay up the whole night, and they want to shir earlier on. So I think there's a shir there. I've listed it at 10:30 on Saturday night at Ohel Nechama on Rehov Chopin in Katamon. And Rabbi Dr. Aaron Adler is going to be giving a great shir there. So again, I suggest I've just started the listings. Look on israelk.org on Thursday afternoon, Friday, and you should find really everything going on. And it really depends on what you're looking for. That's the answer. English, Hebrew, social, more textual. Really, you've got to decide what you're looking for and go for it.
Again, this is the Ari Lewis Show here on Israel Sports News Radio. My guest is Benjy Singer, who is the head of israelk.org. Benjy, with all these programs going on out there, how would you advise what to choose? Where should people go to? There's so many choices out there.
Ari, both you and me we've also got to decide where to go to, because there are so many things going on. So firstly, you've got to decide who the speakers are. Because, it really doesn't matter that it's not really so important what they're saying, it's who's saying it. So you've got to choose what type of listener you want to go and hear. And also, of course, secondly, the language, English, Hebrew. Many of us prefer to learn in Hebrew, but some prefer in English. Don't forget that time of the night or the morning, you want to be able to understand and stay awake. So obviously, if you're more comfortable in English, go to an English shir. Secondly, learning is a social experience. So go with friends, and also go where you might, meet friends, meet new people. Learning is all about socializing. It's about identifying with the community. So you want to go where you can meet people. Thirdly, as I've kind of been speaking about already, what type of experience do you want? Beit Avichai have a great program. That's more, it's more cultural. Pardes have a great program. That's more pluralist. Ramban have a great program. That's more pure learning. The Amic Learning Center have a great program. Eretz Chemda have a good program in English. And again, there's no shortage also, as I've mentioned in my listing, on Hashayarot. There's a great program where the late Minin is davens on Shabbat. They got an interesting program in the Katamon Shtibluch. That if you want to learn in the Chavruta just with a friend, then you can sit and learn in the Katamon Shtibluch. So it really depends on what you're looking for. As I said, I've also done a special listing for what's happening in Tel Aviv, because Israel K, we're spreading into Tel Aviv, and there are loads of things going on in Tel Aviv over Shavuot. Many of us who live in Jerusalem, we think Jerusalem is the only place to be. If you look on the listing I've done for Israel K, you've seen all the shuls in Tel Aviv, Yakar, the Tel Aviv International Synagogue. They've got plenty of things going on there. And, also there are more pluralist communities there. They've also got programs. So there's no excuse. Finally, I know a lot of people talk about it. Should you stay up the whole night? So it really depends on what whether you're going to be able to concentrate. Some people, they learn for a few hours and they go to sleep at 2 or 3, and then they have a proper night's sleep and they learn in the afternoon. Some people, they can stay up the whole night, and then they, if you're in Jerusalem, a lot of people go to the Kotel. I remember that's a beautiful experience. You walk to the Kotel, there are people coming there from all directions. It's packed. And also walking back, it's sunny, you're a bit tired, but you see thousands, if not tens of thousands of people walking back from all over the place. They've walked to Jerusalem, they've walked to the Old City, they've walked to Jerusalem. And I think maybe people, if you're not sure, should you stay up, should you not stay up? If you stay up, should you go to Shul or should you walk to the Kotel? I think that I went to the Old City during the Light Festival, and we decided to go wide to show solidarity with the Old City. There's been this, thank God it's over now, but there's a period of terrorism, the stabbings in the Old City. And I think it's very important for Jews, if they can, to go to the Old City, to show it's a place where Jews can feel at home, they can feel safe. And it's important also to show achdut, to show solidarity with the Jews who live in the Old City, that we feel comfortable coming all times of the day and night, walking through the streets. And really we see the Old City as our home, as we see Katzmon or Baka or, Rehavia as our home. And also we shouldn't take it for granted, as I mentioned at the very beginning, that there are two aspects to Shavuot. There's the agricultural aspect and the historical aspect. In the times of the Bet Mikdash, like in all the other festivals, the temple in the Old City was the central aspect, the central feature of the Chag. And I think now, to go to the Old City on Shavuot, to do Aliyah L'Regel is a beautiful thing to do, and we shouldn't take it for granted. So, really, what experience do you want to have? That's what you have to ask yourself, and you have to try to fulfill that.
All right, again, if you want to check out all those options and choices for Shavout, go to israelk.org. My guest has been Benjy Singer. Thank you for being on the program. Chag Hashavot, Chag Sameach. And again, this is another episode of the Ari Lewis Show here at Israel Sports and News Radio. Benjy, thank you for being on. Speak to you soon.
You too and all the listeners. Have a great day.
You too. Be well.